here, and the music is still playing. I don't know why that happened, but it's a live broadcast. Anything can happen. And I am so excited to be here, and I just realized why the audio is still happening, because that's just the way my life is sometimes. Let you guys know we are having a little bit of technical issues and stuff like that, but that is okay. That's the fun of live stuff like this, especially internet. You never know what's going to happen, and it's all exciting. And also, in case you do not know, MarkTalk is a show that I host 4 days a week, Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Mondays is an AMA day. Tuesday, I show an episode of Mark Meets World that has been pre-recorded. On Wednesday, I interview someone. You guys are here for a really great interview. And on Fridays, we have our Brant Steel Day, and that's when we have a Survivor Simulator. And we're getting a lot of subscriptions, and a lot of people are intrigued and enjoy what we're doing. And it makes me very happy, because I enjoy what I'm doing, and I like to do what I'm doing. And I'd rather do what I'm doing than not do what I'm doing, right? I mean, if I can control what I'm doing, I want to enjoy what I'm doing. That's the best way to put that. If you're here, though, say hi in the comments, because I'm so excited, because this is a good episode. I've not been in the future. I don't know what's going to happen. I know we've had some internet issues. That's probably more on my end than anything. But this guest is someone I've wanted to talk to for so long. I've known him since the famous 530 Sequester Mini, and we became quick friends right after that. He is also the only person I've ever voted to win Sequester, because I've only been in jury once, and he was a finalist. And I love everything about him. I think he's a great theater practitioner, and an amazingly talented singer, a great ray of light of a human being. And we've been through a lot of shit already in only 3 months of knowing each other. I have so much love and respect for my next guest, the one and only Dela Cruz.
What's up, Mark? I'm so happy to be here. I love you so much too. Yay! I'm so excited.
I love you so much too, dude.
Love you too, man.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I said, for the people at home, there are internet issues happening. We might end up doing this, and then I might record a Zoom version of this later, and we'll just have a nice friendly conversation. It'll look great anyway, so people won't know the difference. Because I can talk to Matt all day. I think Matt's awesome.
So what's up, Mark? What questions are you going to ask me? I'm ready.
Well, I mean, you and me we're the same age. We have the same-ish background, except that you sing and I don't. And we're both big theater nerds. And that's one of the things I'm always excited to talk about theater nerds, especially in this time of place. And also, since we're on opposite coasts of America, because you're in Seattle and I am in New York. And two very different worlds of view there,
Yeah.
And you're from Seattle. Right?
Yeah, born and raised Seattle I was born and raised in Seattle. So totally Seattle born and bred. Totally.
That's cool. That's really cool. I've always wanted to go out to Seattle. I remember when I was a kid, when that movie Man of the House came out with Chevy Chase.
Yes.
And I wanted to be Jonathan Taylor Thomas so badly as a kid.
I think we all did. He was such an icon when I remember. Up.
Yeah. The guy, I think we all watched Home Improvement growing up, and we both like comedy a lot, and we're all oh, we want to be this cool kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember watching that movie when they were talking about doing the rain dance in Seattle, in a park. We don't need a rain dance in Seattle. It's going to rain anyways.
Oh my God. It doesn't rain as much as y'all think. Let's be real. It's because Grey's Anatomy, in every episode, they think it's raining, but it's not. They make it seem like it's raining every day. And with that movie, it was so funny. I think they taped at a park nearby where I grew up. I was either at this place called Seward Park. And so it was really cool just seeing that in the movie, because they barely tape in Seattle because it's super expensive, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. like, what were your movies growing up as a kid? Because I know that you and me like have like the same like cultural background and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
at least with pop culture and stuff.
Obviously Goonies, definitely Goonies. I grew up with the Goonies. Clueless, as you already know at this point. What else? Oh, Blank Check. The Mighty Ducks films.
Blank Check, yes.
Yes. And there was also this movie, what was it called?
Yes.
When Arnold Schwarzenegger got pregnant. What was that called? That was like one of my favorite movies. It was horrible, but he was pregnant.
Junior. That'd be Junior.
Yeah, Junior. And then what else? Babe, Now and Then. There's so many movies. Because we were 90s kids, Mark. 90s kids.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember like I mean like 80s babies, 90s kids growing up and like learning about things the 90s way.
Yeah.
Like, I remember like when I was like 12 when Titanic came out and like how like excited I was to see it on opening night and how like dirty like I felt like in a good way with the nude scene.
Yes. No, me too. My favorite part was like I remember in grade school we would be in the bathroom with some of my friends and I'd fog up the mirror in the bathroom and then I'd literally just recreate, ooh, this is Rose having sex. I'm putting my hand down like she does in the car.
Just like yeah. Oh god, you gotta love a good old like artistic sex scene back from the late 90s in the PG-13 movie. You know, I mean that's what it was all about.
It was the best. And I knew I wasn't straight as a kid.
It's a place we didn't think anything this conversation was gonna go out of all places, but I'm not.
It's all good. But like when I saw Kate oh my god, Kate Winslet's tits in that movie, I was just like, oh, those are tits. That's great. Even though I wasn't really attracted to them, I knew I wasn't attracted to her, but I was like, those look great. Just showing her tits.
Yeah. If you got them, show them, right? You know, I mean.
Yeah, exactly. For sure.
Yeah. I want to talk to you immediately about because you're such a great singer and such a great impersonator of voices. And I know that we're both big Britney Spears fans.
Oh yeah.
And like your YouTube is insanely awesome. Like how you have your like a lot of really great playlists with like you singing and your solo shows up there, and it's just really awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Like, how did you start doing all that?
Yeah. Well, we could start. I actually got into singing way before I got into theater because in Filipino culture, they usually force your children to sing karaoke nonstop at family parties. So that's how I got into singing. I love 90s R&B. I grew up listening to Boyz II Men, SWV, TLC. And since then, that's sort of how I encompass myself with the artist I am today. Like when I lived in New York for a bit. There were cabarets popping up everywhere that weren't happening in Seattle. So my inspiration was when I moved back to Seattle, I was like, I want to produce my own shows where I can invite people to sing the songs of like popular artists like Britney Spears. And a recent one I had was Whitney versus Celine. So that's sort of how I got into that vein because I felt that there was a lack of cabarets that catered to talented Broadway like theater artists singing the hits that they grew up with, because it was very seldom seen in Seattle where you could hear theater artists, theater singers here sing the pop songs that they love and hold dear. And so that's sort of what I wanted to bring to the theater community here, because it was so rampant in New York. And that was one thing that I loved about being in New York, was to be able to go to bars and just sing, you know, because that was like my number one love. And so that's pretty much how I got started into that. And then that eventually circled out into me wanting to write more solo shows and write more plays, because it gave me the confidence as an artist to be like, oh, I could produce my own shows. Maybe I should write. And so that's sort of how that all ended up. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I mean, like, it's so fascinating how, like, when New York is normal, you can go into almost any bar that has like a karaoke, like, and sing, like, in parts of
Yeah.
the city, like, especially those great karaoke bars. And it's just really fucking cool. It's like one of the things I love about New York, how there's always like a karaoke thing happening in theory, or like someplace like those piano bars are so cool and stuff like that, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
I miss those. I
And
miss going to
I'm
do
shocked that Seattle doesn't have a scene like that.
They don't. I mean, they're starting to do it now. Before COVID, like a lot of other theater companies, and I'm not going to give myself credit for starting that. I felt like it was going to start regardless. But there are a lot more theater companies who are holding more cabarets, showcasing the vocal talent of the theater artists here, which is great because a lot of people who usually don't get the lead roles, mainly POC actors and performers, get more showcased in these shows. And that was also a major point as to why I personally wanted to produce my own work, to not only give myself a voice, but to also give more POC theater artists the platform to stand out as well, because they seldom don't get to stand out in main roles in musical theater shows or just in theater shows in general here and just in general. So, yeah.
And that's, I mean, like, and that's part of the reason why people like you are so valuable into like the theatrical community. Because I know you're like me, you write, you direct, you perform, and you're also a teacher, which is like, I mean, like, my favorite teachers growing up were my theater teachers. Like, that's just the way that was.
Yes. Yeah, and I love being a teacher too, because it sort of gives me that platform. I mean, I teach at a predominantly white private school, but there are a lot of POC kids. And a good memory of me starting there was I was talking about like how I got into teaching and why I think, you know, performing and teaching is important, especially as a person of color. And a lot of the POC kids were like, oh my goodness, they were smiling because it's just great to be representing, because I didn't have that growing up, which is why it took me longer to get to where I'm at now, because imposter syndrome is real. When you don't see someone who looks like you in the performing arts, you start to second guess yourself a lot. And so that's why I take every opportunity with whatever platform I'm on, I take it very seriously, because people, like, no matter what, everybody, like, Mark, you're on a platform right now, people look up to you. I'm on a platform, people look up to me. Everybody is on a platform of their own. And so whatever platform you are on, I always take it very seriously, because there are people who are looking up to you, and you don't realize what an influence you have on people in regards to inspiring them to do more. And so, yeah. Oh, hey, Marjorie, yay!
Yeah. I mean, it's a cool thing about like representation matters. Like, even though I'm a straight cis white male and all that stuff, it means that I shouldn't like fall back in my laurels, but like be the best version of what I can be, and be open-minded and want to learn and try to be the best version of myself. And if I have a flaw, be okay being like, I'm flawed.
Yeah.
You know?
That's dope, Mark.
Like,
that's why you're awesome.
So what was your first show that you wrote?
Oh, the first show that I wrote, let's see. I actually wrote a show called Mr. DC. It's my solo show about my teaching experiences at my first school. And so that came about because on Facebook, I would post various stories about my kids, like pretty much daily. And they would range from hilarious to stressful to super emotional. And what ended up happening was a theater company here called The Pocket, rest in peace, they sadly no longer exist. They that year they had a solo show month that anyone could submit and write. And a friend of mine named Rihanna was like, hey, I'll write a show if you write one. And I was like, nah, I'm not, I shouldn't write. I'm not a writer, blah, blah, blah. I'm just a performer. And then she was like, no, you need to at least try. Just do it. And so basically what I did was I used those Facebook status updates, and that whole thing inspired the show Mr. DC. And after a lot of workshopping, I also focused on my time in New York and how the struggles of being in New York led to my teaching career as well. And so I melded the two, and it was really great. And yeah, and I used a lot of pop culture references because why not? There's one scene where I'm having a hard time with this kid. And it literally happened in real life. Whenever I need to de-stress, I think of like a random pop song in my head. And in that moment, this kid in my real life, but I wrote it in the play, he was throwing scissors, he was acting crazy. I was thinking of Waiting for Tonight by Jennifer Lopez. And then as he was going crazy, I was like, hey, I'll name him Rob, because that's not his real name. I was like, hey, Rob, you have two choices. You can either create a hand turkey, or I'm going to tell you about the story and life of Jennifer Lopez. And then so he was like, I guess you can tell me the story about Jennifer Lopez. And so I start doing Jennifer Lopez is a triple threat, and I start telling the story, and then no joke, he ended up wanting to do his assignment and create his hand turkey. And so I put that story in there, and I'm glad that my friend Rihanna sort of forced me to write a show because it has opened up a whole new avenue. This show also got to do a mini New York run, and I hope to keep developing it. So yeah, sorry, long story short, Mr. DC was my first show ever that I wrote.
But that's incredible, though. Like,
yeah,
I mean, like, I love, like, you and me are very similar where we put our whole heart into our shows. Mm-hmm. Like, I've only done like 2 or 3 solo shows. Blockbuster Guys, like the first one that's been successful, like in more than just artistic sense, like a financial sense too. I do want to comment about this. This is pretty cool. If this will pop up.
Yep, it's popped up.
Won't, but okay. Yay. Oh, there we go. But yeah, what Marjorie said there about imposter is like the outburst, and like it's true. I feel like an imposter half the time. But like I've done a lot of off Broadway theater. That's like where like my whole like career has been, and I put up a lot of money and spent like and lost a lot of money. But like as an artist and as an artist, I a lot, you know. And mainly by putting my heart and soul into theater. And all my plays have a lot of pop culture references, either like the 90s or 2000s, especially stuff like Blockbuster Guy, where it's all like movie references, you know?
Ooh, what movie references did you have in there? I mean, name like just a few, because I'm very intrigued, Mark. I'm very intrigued.
Wait, what movie? Sorry, the internet shit is happening.
No, it's okay. What references? What were some of the references you used in that solo show, Blockbuster Man? Like, what were some popular references that you used? Because I'm very intrigued.
Well, so it's mainly things that like fit along with the late 90s, early 2000s, of like when I like really like so like I started like loving Blockbuster like in 1992 or 93, like when I got to like my neighborhood. But like there's also a lot of talk of like movies like from like big like goalposts in my life movies, like Rocky Horror Picture Show, which I was raised on. I was actually raised on Rocky Horror Picture Show. I'm that weirdo that was like raised on Rocky Horror Picture Show. And also like there's a lot of references to like horror movies, like a lot of like the big slasher movies, which I learned to love while at Blockbuster.
Nice. Mark, did you know that?
Muted yourself, Matt.
No, yeah, I unmuted. So, Mark, did you know that my first musical ever was Rocky Horror? I hope you heard that. Mark, come back.
What was your first musical?
Rocky Horror. Rocky Horror.
Oh my God, this is so embarrassing. I'm just going to ask him that for private chat. This is fun. God, internet sucks, doesn't it?
It's all good, Mark. You're gonna come back in. Your internet's
Oh,
slowly
Rocky
getting
Horror. That was
better.
your first show. Awesome.
That was my
cool.
first show. Yes.
Yeah, Rocky Horror is like seriously one of my favorite musicals of all time, and I was raised on Rocky Horror. Like seriously, my earliest memories are watching Rocky Horror.
Awesome, yeah, and it was so funny because
so those are like a big, like interesting things in the play. I talk about.
Go ahead, Mark.
This is so awkward with bad internet. Yeah. This is never happened on the show before. We're gonna like totally redo this afterwards. It's totally fine, guys. I hope you're enjoying this. Wow, this is almost this is embarrassing. That's okay. I'm okay being embarrassed. As long as you have a good sense of humor about it, I don't care. And I love talking to Matt, and Matt knows this. But yeah, my first musical I ever did, I did Fiddler on the Roof in high school.
Oh, who were you in Fiddler? Were you Tevye?
I was the rabbi, so I actually had sing. I had a solo where I sang Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov. That was like it, like because he sings in the dream.
That's awesome. Yes, Marjorie, we will power through. Thank you, Marjorie, for powering through. We are gonna power through this.
Yes, thank you, Marjorie.
It's all good, Mark. We will make this work.
It's like it's so funny because I've been doing the show now a month, and I've never had such internet issues.
It's all good. And Mark,
that's the thing about you and me. Like, we are fucking fighters. Like, that's one of the things I love about you, Matt. Like, we're fighters. Like, that's one of the things that I fell in love with you while playing with you. The first time I played with you at 5:30, and it was like for like 30 seconds, and then we were immediately turned against each other thanks to that twist. But what else? Can you talk to me about Pop Culture Time, your new podcast, your new show on YouTube?
Yes, I will definitely talk about it. So I wanted to come out with a podcast that was about something that I loved a lot. But, Christian's already having the panel. So I was like, I don't want to do another panel, like POC panel type show, because that's Christian's and it's something that I want to respect. So I was like, what else can I talk about? What else can I bring to the podcast table in the sequester community? And I remember before I got into theater, before the theater bug bit me in college, I wanted to work for the E! Network or VH1, and wanted to work as a pop culture correspondent. Because I knew a lot of random pop culture facts. There was that show on VH1 called the Pop Culture. There was a pop culture like game show, and I knew all the
Pop-Up Video.
Yeah, Pop-Up Video was one of them too, and I knew all the facts on that.
Oh, I love
as well. I love the 90s. Yeah.
I love the 90s. Also, the Pop Culture World Series. The World Series.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, the Pop Culture World Series. Yeah, when that was.
Yeah, I love the 90s.
And I knew all of the answers on that show, and that was my dream, is to, because I was going to get a journalism degree in college, Mark, and my goal was to go to LA and live that host.
Did I know that? Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, and so, I mean, acting obviously took over, which I'm very grateful for. And so when coming up with a podcast idea, I was like, I really love pop culture from the 2000s and 90s. I think there is a niche for that in the community, and that's sort of how I came up with that idea. And then Eric Danforth, who is Homo Watanabe, or Eric Lee on Twitter, who's a good friend of ours on Twitter, he was like,
I love that guy so much.
He's so good. And he was the one who was like, your first episode should be about Clueless, which is my favorite movie. And so we started off with that, and now we're just going through the episodes. We're going to talk about heartthrobs of the 2000s and 90s coming up this Saturday. And there's various topics about early Real World. And we're going to talk about the random reality shows during those days. And it's just been something that I've wanted to do because it was a dream of mine before acting took over. And I'm very happy that I have another platform to talk about something else that I would love. Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Justin.
Yeah, Justin. Yes, he would be. Such a great correspondent. What I mean, like, because Matt is like such a funny person, and you're such a great singer, and you're so like you as a person are like a warm hug of a human being.
Aw, likewise, Mark. Thank you.
It's true though, man.
Aw,
Like,
I appreciate it.
Yeah, like I can't tell you how thankful I am that we played that Broadway mini like together the whole time until the final four when it all fell apart for me, which is okay.
I know.
I just
turn
wanted
on
to
you. I'm
get
sorry.
to the jury that game.
Oh man, we turned on our 5:30 crew so bad.
Honestly, if I put it better, it could have been you and me in the finals. But I don't.
Yeah.
Like honestly, like my brain does wonder. It's like, what would have happened if I'm like Matt, you and I are voting together, or I'm dragging you instead of I'm being like, I'm dragging Justin, and then like, because my brain was so like thrown off by everything. By the point we got to Final Four, because I was under pressure 90% of the game. Like,
no, for sure, and a lot of people who just watch the show Sequestered do not get the pressure because you don't realize you're fucking up your decisions until after the game, because you're in the game. You don't realize, because you're thinking, I mean, I feel like we're similar players, Mark, in regards to we think with our hearts a lot. And not that we're saying we're stupid, because we have really smart brains, but when we're in game, we're very like emotion based. We're like, okay, we're in the moment. I don't know what to do, but I'm mad and sad, so I'm gonna follow my heart. And you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, we know that you had the controversy in 5:30 for you, but I'm happy that's blown over, and let people know that you are a good dude and you made the right decision in the long run, especially at Winners at War, where Henry did really well.
Yes, which shout out to Henry. Henry was like,
we don't need negativity in our lives.
Nah, and like the thing is, Henry proved himself so well, and I was very, very happy that he did that. He represented so well, especially on Podquester After Show. He was the positivity king, and he proved why he belonged in that game overall. So kudos to Henry. Much love to you, Henry. Yeah. Yes.
Yes. So I know that you and I have also been doing our fair share of digital theater. I know you had a reading of your new play with friends of and Kaylee, friends of the show. How was that like for you to delve into digital theater like that?
Oh man, it was super interesting because I don't know, I genuinely like virtual theater, to be quite honest, because what I really loved about it is I was able to bring not only Eloisa, who I know from Seattle, but I was able to bring people from various parts of the world, like Renzo, Justine, and Kaylee, into it. What was sort of interesting, though, was like, how am I going to direct people over StreamYard or Zoom? You know, it's like, it takes a different approach, because when you're in person, you can tell an actor to move a certain way.
Yeah, where there's issues like right now.
Yeah, exactly. Because Eloisa was breaking out too. But it's also, I've learned that it's all about, you have to learn how to direct from the face up in these Zoom calls, because that's all you have. And so it taught me to like, all right, can you say it's a certain word in this type of tone? Can you emote? And luckily with the cast that we had with music, I didn't have to do a lot of directing because they all, like Justine came into it. She already because I gave the script to them about 2 weeks before we did it, just so that they could prepare for it. And Justine just connected to it, which was amazing. Renzo did as well, and Kaylee was awesome with stage direction. It was just a blessing in disguise. But before that, there was I did virtual theater right when COVID started, when I was directing for the first time, quote unquote, because I took a directing workshop that ended up getting moved online. And so from there, I learned how to like, all right, well, to be nervous, can you move your arms like this? Because again, it's like we have to learn how to direct over Zoom. And it's been an interesting journey, but it's something that I hope even after COVID subsides, I'm hoping that there is still a little section, a little place for virtual theater, because what I do love about it is like right now, you and me, Mark, are able to talk. You know, I would have never been able to meet you specifically, another theater practitioner, if it weren't for this platform. And so I truly hope that while I'm ready for live theater to happen again, let's be real, I do hope that there's still a place for virtual theater after everything subsides.
Yeah. I mean, it's really it's a really cool tool, you know, like I've done a few pieces of theater virtual. I did Blockbuster Guy a few times, twice on Zoom and once on StreamYard. And it's like a totally different experience, especially because StreamYard is backwards. And Zoom is not backwards. Zoom is just Zoom. And then I did a production of As You Wish It a few weeks ago that my friend wrote, which is an adaptation of The Princess Bride in Shakespeare. And I was Fezzik, and I was sent through StreamYard, and that was a whole nother animal. We were all like in the New York and in the Pennsylvania area, and it was just really interesting. We had over 100 people watching it while we did it live.
Yeah, that's dope, Mark.
Yeah, it was fun though. And even though internet is not our friend today, the internet can be a friend.
Yeah, and the thing is, you're still able to hear me, and you know what? Yeah. The awkward delay.
I'm gonna put in the chat your YouTube page because I know we're getting ready to wrap up.
Okay, yay! Oh, thanks, Mark.
Yeah. We should start getting ready to wrap up.
Okay.
Matt, tell us about how they can follow you.
Yes, you can definitely follow me at my Twitter at Matt Dela Cruz. I sing a lot. I talk about Sequester and a little bit about Big Brother, and also Pop Culture Time with Matt DC.
And he's a really great singer.
Oh, thank you, Mark. Thanks, Mark. And so Pop Culture Time with Matt DC, my podcast, is a bi-weekly podcast happening twice a month. It's going to happen this Saturday again at 1 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And this week's theme, we are going to talk about our favorite 90s/2000s heartthrobs. So that's going to be very interesting to revisit our crushes from our past.
Oh, that's so great.
Yep, and I will reveal the cast who is going to be on the panel either later today or tomorrow. So I'm super, super stoked for that.
I will reveal my crush from the from the 90s. I had a really, really big crush on Larissa Oleynik.
Yes, Alex Mack.
Yeah, from Alex Mack.
Mm-hmm. Do you know who mine was? Mine was Freddie Prinze Jr. because he's so sexy. When She's All That came out, I was like, who is this man? Who is this man?
A very good looking guy, yeah.
He is, and he's with Sarah Michelle Gellar now. They've been married for like a long time. So the fact that Buffy and Freddie
for like Jr. 20 plus years.
Yes, and they're such a good-looking couple, and they seem really cool and down to earth from their social media presence. So it's been amazing.
Yeah. My plugs quickly. You can tweet at me at Mark Levy 85. A lot of tweets out the question, a lot of tweets at the show. I'm going to give a specific plug on Tuesdays. I got new episodes of Mark Meets World. This past week, yesterday, if you're watching live, I had an episode with my girlfriend, Rachel Nielsen, and we talked about the Christmas episode of Boy Meets World from season 1, and it was really, really a fun episode. And they're not live; they're all pre-taped, and that's I'm proud of that episode. I'm proud of everything I do. I take pride in what I do. That's a big thing for me. And coming Friday, our next episode is going to be there we go. Our Brant Steele Day, which is when I do a Survivor Brant Steele and see what happens and who wins. And Matt, I always like to ask every guest, would you like to be the Brant Steele this week?
Oh, of course. Yes. Let's go for it.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. I'm going to get ready to wrap this up. Thank you so much, Matt, for being here. We are going to do a longer form version of this where my internet is not shitting out every 10 seconds. And I want to have like a full like discussion about like everything that I couldn't touch on between like the fact that like we both are great talkers and the internet issues. I thank you so much for your patience though today though with everything.
For sure. But it was awesome being on, Mark. I'm so happy to have been on your show. Thank you again for the invite.
Yeah. Thank you. And I'll see you guys on Friday. See you then. I'll be another year older. Hoy. Hoy, I just said. Hoy. Hoy.